These are probably stupid questions. I've just got a few things that I've been pondering to do with Delphi murders, so the double homicide in Delphi of Abby Williams, Libby German, abducted off the Monon High Bridge in 2017. Now, there is a certain person that insists that Shane Evans murdered the girls because Libby had discovered something, perhaps because she often helped her grandmother, Becky Patty, with office administrative work, filing and the like, and had perhaps discovered something to do with what's known as the Flora Fire. So in November 2016, 4 young girls, school-age girls, died when the home that they lived in with their mother, Galen Rose, caught fire. And Galen Rose has said to a couple of people that Becky Patty knocked on her door one day to do a valuation. So this is just a valuation for the purposes of maybe a mortgage or, how much to insure your house for. It's not an inspection for safety and things like that. And it's true that when, you have houses that are divided up like this, where they become multi-family homes, safety standards and just general domestic comfort is often sacrificed, and, people end up living in sort of slum conditions, and it's thought to be okay, and it's very much not okay. Anyway, the idea that one of these persons has is that Shane Evans killed Libby and Abby by default, simply because Libby discovered something in the paperwork in her grandmother Becky Patty's office and was going to go to the authorities about it. I mean, wow, if arson is the name of the game, wouldn't you think it would be intimidating enough and satisfactory enough just to maybe burn the office down, destroy any evidence, or just say to Libby, I mean, how he got to know this, I don't know. I'm sure people can make up all sorts of connections. They like to say that Cody, Patty and Shane Evans are friends. I can't see that they would have anything in common whatsoever. So they could probably make up a story about info leaking that way, I guess. But, you'd think that if this fantasy were reality, couldn't someone just say to Libby, well, you need to keep hush about that because your grandmother is involved, and do you really want to be responsible for your grandmother going to prison? Who would look after you? Yeah. I mean, I think we know that Becky Patty's major crimes are that she allowed young girls, Kelsey and Libby, to be living in the home with Derek German, who had lost custody and who shouldn't be under the same domestic roof. And she let returning felon Cody Patty, whom is, I think, maybe an adopted son of Mike Patty's, come and live in the home with these young girls, Libby barely a teenager. I just think that's really not kosher, and she's paying more attention to, her own immediate family children, Tara and Derek, and their woes, and not raising Libby and Kelsey. That's just how I feel about that. She had no clue. And we know that Libby had been on Musica, etc., since she was around 11 years old. And I have seen the type of content that 10 and 11-year-old girls and boys are putting out onto YouTube. And they do have Snapchat, and they do tell people that they have it, and they are inviting attention, and it's very spooky. And what are their parents doing? Pay attention. If you're not going to raise your children, someone else will. if you're not going to instill the spirituality or the morality, ethics, sense of self-esteem in your children, if you're not going to teach them how to value themselves in the world, someone else is going to show them their value. Someone else is going to tell them what's to be valued, and you're not going to like what those things are. Anywho, I didn't come on here to say that. Then the other thing I was pondering, so I'm just saying, you know, who is listening to this theory of this unhinged woman? I mean, she's got quite a lot of hate. I mean, I think I can be vitriolic, but I can imagine the lashings that this woman can dole out towards certain people if her feelings are strong enough. And she doesn't hide how she feels about the families of both murdered girls and of half the Delphi residents. You know, anything's possible. We don't know the full truth. But anyway, if you are listening to someone saying that Libby and Abby were murdered because Libby found out something about Flora Fire, you're deranged, okay? That's not how it would be dealt with. And then everything else that has come after that wouldn't be so. That's just what I believe, though. You do you, boo. The other thing I was just wondering about was rolling back to Robert Ives. Now, I know I have said, look, what if it was non sequitur that Robert Ives said, because of how he sort of frames introducing the idea. You know, he's talking about how the scene was very odd. So to me, you know, non sequitur would make sense in that context, because something's odd, like it's not making sense. It's not making sense in terms of what's just happened at that scene to these girls, right? But thinking about if it is non-secular, Julie Melvin did say in one of her recent bean spilling, sometimes I'm not sure what's the beans and what's the what's the gas that they cause. I don't know, how could I term it, from Julie. But anyway, she has spoken at length about Kay Weber, and she told a story about some of Kay's land being claimed back, or being claimed by, you know, the city of Delphi because of the trails. Now, when you look at the imagery about the trails, you see that, you know, it comes from Delphi Riley Park on one side of the creek, and that's where the swing bridge is. And, you know, you walk on the north side and you come along to get to over the Freedom Bridge and get to where the 501 trail heads up to the Monon High Bridge. You cross the Monon High Bridge and you'll see on the map that it says proposed trail, you know, to complete the loop going back to that swing bridge, where you can then cross over and complete the loop back at Riley. And of course there's towpaths that go up over to the west of Delphi as well. A towpath, people say, why is it called a towpath? A towpath is where maybe horses would go along besides the creek, beside the canal, beside the river, pulling cargo on a barge or something like that, right? So, you know, maybe with logging and things like that, there was a lot of industry in the area that, you know, Delphi was built on. It just doesn't exist now. But it's a beautiful, beautiful town, and it's some history. And why shouldn't history be preserved in Delphi as much as, you know, anywhere else, as much as anywhere else in the world? You know, it's human history, and it has importance. So she told Julie, so Julie relays, that some of her stations of the cross were destroyed. This is very interesting. This is a tidbit that I have not been able to release out of this stupid collection of cells up here, because now Stations of the Cross. So in the Catholic churches that I've been into, you'll see, you know, these little, a series of images. They are depictions of the last day of Christ. So, you know, you have feet being washed and the cross and the crown of thorns, and it's violent and passionate, you know. So you've probably heard of the Passion of Christ. And Julie says that Kay has had the Stations of the Cross around her home. Well, I mean, it does make you wonder, is there a possibility that some of her paraphernalia or whatever, parts of these Stations of the Cross, were they found down in the scene, you know, the crime scene, the site off the bank of the other side of Deer Creek from the Weber home? In the tableau with Abby and Libby and whatever was done there. Is that possible? And I don't know, is that kind of a secret that's sort of to be kept? It is funny though, look, you know, I don't want any hate about this, but I mean, Julie does seem to talk to people, just these random people. Oh, I just got talking to someone and he said he's the ISP fingerprinter and he takes the latent prints, and oh, you know, just told this random stranger, Julie, when she asked about Delphi, and just said out of the blue, yeah, no, they never sent any prints to us for processing. Do you think law enforcement are going to divulge that information like that? It's the same with the two officers from Indianapolis. I think she said that she just random bumped into someone and he said, me and my partner were there to process the scene. We found the bullets. And she said, what bullets? And they told her 40 caliber bullets back in 2018. I mean, I don't know. You know, Delphi's been really locked down. It's a double homicide. People have kept this information, and there would have been hundreds of people knowing this information because they have done in the investigation directly. Well, they should be, right? And it never got out about the bullet. Okay, now, according to Julie Melvin, this will be because she knew, but she's kept mum. You just think, if they're talking to her, who else are they talking to? And why would everyone keep quiet about that, right? So I'm sorry, but I just don't know about all of this. Yeah. But yeah, I was just wondering about that, you know. And would you say, yeah, that was destroyed by the making of the path? Or had it already been taken and we're just not to know this, that some of her Christian I don't know what parts of her Station of the Cross, whether it is actual crosses or little idols or something. I mean, I don't know how you would make those and place them around your home, but yeah, I just wondered if something like that could have happened and if things were taken from the Weber property. Yeah, I mean, I've pondered this before out loud to you guys, so I'll say it again. It's all, you know, Brad Weber just has always bothered me. I mean, he was there, he lives right there, he doesn't like people on the property. Yeah. It's funny too, you know, look, Galen Rose, she's just been taken out of one universe and put in another, right? To go from being a mother, and a mother of 4, with so much ahead, grandchildren and all of those things, right? You know, the high school graduations, the proms, everything, right? You know, her daughters getting their first jobs and maybe going to university and getting married and having children, whatever it is that they were going to go on and do in their lives. they all seemed like very bright and free sort of spirits who, you know, I don't know them from a bar of soap, but they seemed to be particularly confident, outgoing, kind, sweet, etc. Right? Imagine, I mean, you've just been put into another world. It must be impossible some days to feel like you can carry on and just live your life. What's the point of a breath, right? But why is it that people will say, there is so much bias, okay, when people, they say, oh, Galen's being harassed because she's just been interviewed a few times. I mean, Kelsey German got interrogated, but you just love that, don't you? And there's just so much bias and hypocrisy in how people talk about the cases. You know, Galen Rose isn't getting any attention. Well, you know, she's made recent appearances. People are going, oh, so that's what she looks like. What a lovely woman. I mean, she is a lovely woman. She does have a lovely smile. Yes, to all of those things. I mean, I personally would have burnt my face off just wanting to be with my girls and try and get to them. But that's probably just me. I might say that I would do that, but maybe I wouldn't. I don't know, but I couldn't bear the thought of it. I'd rather burn with them, but I don't know. But, you know, that is the difference. Do you think that, you know, people playing these race cards, now we know that, yeah, Randall, I don't think it's libelous to say that, well, because I can say there's a lot of allegations of racism toward Dennis Randall, for one, and it's a very small population of Carroll County in Indiana. I believe possibly only 2% that are African American. I'm not sure. I'm not American, so I'm sorry if I don't even know the right term that I am supposed to use. But, you know, it is predominantly what would be thought of as Caucasian, maybe, although it'd have to be quite the mix, just like with anywhere, with people that come from all different backgrounds. It's silly, but that is the difference, okay? That is, because some families are getting out there and talking about it, and yeah, they are being interviewed over and over again, and they, you know, they do also put their face out, okay, and they keep everyone talking about the case, whereas somebody else moved states, okay, which might be fair enough, because I imagine it's rather painful to stay anywhere near Flora, and possibly impossible to stay in Carroll County and maybe not feel harassed. But there is a difference there, okay? And yeah, that is why one goes national and maybe one stays local, because people have made it so, okay? That's why you might, you know, the general we, I, you, people might not like how Kelsey German talks and things, but, you know, or that Mike Patty is the spokesperson for the family and Carrie Timmons is not. I mean, she lost custody for a reason. And, you know, it's been kept front and center by family talking, going on podcasts, talking to newspapers, talking to the TV reporters, going on Dr. Phil. I mean, I'm not going to Crime Con, okay? And there's always going to be people that are spinning this a certain way, saying, yeah, because they're controlling the narrative and the like. You know, look, I guess anything is possible, okay? All I know is, you know, it's not Ron Logan on the bridge. I believe it's Richard Allen who abducted the girls off the bridge. Outside of that, I don't know. I'm not privy to the documents, to whatever data has been gathered, and nor are the other people that are coming up with some pretty abusive, cruel theories who just really have it in for certain people. And you know, you can get really sidetracked by rabbit holes in true crime. They're everywhere, okay? And you know what a warren looks like. There's tracks and trails going for miles, and there might only be one opening or two. And not everything is related, okay? There can be things existing in parallel. They don't need to intersect and have bearing directly. Yeah. Anyway, but that's just what I was wondering. I thought, well, okay, maybe if it is non-secular, maybe there were some things taken from the Weber property. Pretty weird, but possible, I guess. Pretty risky. I mean, to maybe go back up to the property to get some things. There was time. Or did someone just take them down? We don't know. We don't know what happened at the scene. We don't know when whomever killed Abby and Libby disappeared from that scene. We don't know if somebody else came to that scene. We don't know if somebody interfered with that scene. You know, people just need to realize what we don't know. We don't know a lot. Anyway, this could have been 2 minutes, as per usual. This could have been 2 minutes, not 20 something. I'll see you another time. Thanks for bearing with me. Bye.